Good afternoon, everyone. If we'll make a start. As you know, this is the coordinators webinar, particularly when we're going to be talking about the Neighbourhood Watch strategy that we developed last year, and have just we're now 6 months into it, a 5-year strategy. So we're going to have some discussion. As you know, we sent around some information just around making sure everyone mutes themselves, and certainly if there's any problem with bandwidth, then it's easier without video because it increases the bandwidth that we're working with. But that's all I'm going to say at this point. But there'll be plenty of time for questions at the end. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat, which we'll be monitoring throughout the session. So if you've got any questions, please just put them in the please just put them in the chat, and we'll get back to them as when we have time to answer just after the sort of presentations. But beyond that, I'm just delighted that Ian Bretman, the chair of Neighbourhood Watch Network, is just going to say a few words around the strategy. So over to you, Ian.
Thanks, thanks, John, and hello everyone. And really wonderful to see such a huge turnout. So thank you very much for taking the time for the meeting. So as John said, I'm the chair of trustees. It's a role I've had for the past 6 years. And I live in Worthing on the south coast, where we have a very active Neighbourhood Watch Association. And I'm delighted to have this opportunity to introduce this session on the new strategic framework for the Neighbourhood Watch movement that we developed last year. And it was developed through work with the trustees, with the central support team, many association leads, and also a lot of the partner organisations that we worked with. So there were a lot of conversations about what is working well with Neighbourhood and what we could build on, and what we should be looking to do even more of in the future. And it's obviously really important that we do have a plan for our work in the medium term, generally the next 5 years. Someone once said, failing to plan is planning to fail. But for us, this kind of movement, it's important that we develop a plan in a way that recognises that the work is done by people like you in communities and neighbourhoods across England and Wales. So it needs to be a broad, generic framework that can adapt to local needs and context. It can't be a rigid one-size-fits-all or a to-do list for everyone. So I hope you'll bear that in mind as this session progresses, that I hope it provides opportunities for you to see how you could develop your work. And it's really important that we build on the strengths of the movement that have been developed over the last 40 years, but also respond to the changing landscape of our work. We're living in a society where online and cyber-related issues account for around half of all recorded crime, where antisocial behaviour, hate crimes, domestic abuse, violence, especially against women and girls, blight so many people's lives, while still helping people to avoid becoming a victim of the crimes that we've always lived with. Those acquisitive crimes such as burglary and robbery. We also need to learn from the work we've done to assess the impact of Neighbourhood Watch schemes, which shows that while that basic work of providing information and advice on crime prevention and sharing intelligence between the police and local residents remains hugely valuable, all the work that you do with the alert system. But it's the work that it's happening in so many places that helps people feel better connected to their neighbours and to feel part of a community that really has the best impact on people's sense of safety, security and well-being. And we'd really like to be doing more of that in the next few years. So our strategy is based around a vision of a society where neighbours come together to create safer, stronger and more active communities. And what we mean by that is places where people look out for each other and do have less tolerance for the antisocial behaviour, the other sorts of things that happen in communities that we know lead to more serious crime. So if those can be tackled, it will have a huge impact on crime prevention. And There are many ways that this work's already being done and that could be achieved in the future. And as I've said, it will be different in every neighbourhood and community. It depends what people need and how they want to get involved. And we also don't expect volunteers like you to do all of this work yourselves. There are many other organisations who have similar aims and objectives, and we need to work more closely with them. But actually, there's very few, if any, that have the sort of reach and profile that Neighbourhood Watch already has. And that's the legacy of all the work you've been doing, and many hundreds and thousands of other people have been doing over 40 years. So we really believe that joining your local scheme can be the first step for people to be more involved in the community. I'd like to think that we can become part of that infrastructure of people's lives, so that joining your local scheme is on a par with getting connected to water and power supplies and the internet. You know, it's something that should be the normal everyday thing for all people. And I think we really think we are on that pathway, and that we can achieve that in more places with more people and have more impact. And that's what we've tried to bring to life in the strategy. So with that, I'm going to hand over to John and Cheryl to explain more about the detail of that. And as I say, I hope you'll be excited by the opportunities it presents to take our work forward. Thank you.
Many thanks, Ian. That's great. So I'm just going to go through the strategy in terms of its the basis. But first, I'm just going to go back and just have. I'm not going to read all this, but just going to go very quickly back to our strategy, which finished last year. And the three key aims of that were that we become the authoritative voice on community-based crime prevention. As you can see from the data there, when we asked that in our national survey with sort of 20, 30,000 people responding, we improved on that year on year. And the same is true in terms of us being the most popular gateway for citizens to engage. That increased year on year from when we start to measure in 2022. And finally, the same is also true that Neighbourhood Watch is a recognised contributor to community health and well-being. So again, your fantastic, your and other people's work in the community is what added to that view of the public's view of Neighbourhood Watch. The reason I just wanted to do that was kind of to underline something Ian said a minute ago about that a lot of the work in terms of Neighbourhood Watch, Neighbourhood Connect, and Neighbourhood Act, which I'll come on to kind of explain a bit more fully, is already happening and is already happening in Neighbourhood Watch right across England and Wales. But I just wanted to kind of make that point that our 5-year strategy that's just come to an end, that we were successful, and we as a movement, and you particularly as the Neighbourhood Watch coordinators on the ground kind of were really successful in achieving that strategy. So if I could just go on to our strategy that we've got. I mean, I think as Ian mentioned, that the key to our new strategy is around neighbours looking out for each other. So this is not just around providing information to the police, but looking out in its broadest sense, us all looking out for our neighbours. And I think the key bit I just wanted to align with this in terms of our values, that we did alter these as part of the strategy work that we did last year, and is that we definitely wanted to be seen as friendly as an organisation, that we're welcoming and that we bring people together. So this is what we do in our communities. That we're also, I mean, by doing that, that's how we reduce crime. People that are more connected, crime is less likely to flourish, and where people are together, they are able to pass crime information if there's a particular concern within their communities. But also we wanted to build on how Neighbourhood Watch is viewed, that Neighbourhood Watch has always been viewed as trusted. And we certainly wanted to ensure that continued, that we were seen as reliable and respected in terms of what we say, our advice. And also that we know that where Neighbourhood Watch groups are more attractive, where they attract younger people. I mean, we know from all our work with coordinators and associations that one of the key elements that we need to do is to attract more younger people and young families to Neighbourhood Watch. And we know where there are young families and people involved in Neighbourhood Watch, it tends to be when those Neighbourhood Watch groups are energetic, active and practical. So we wanted to kind of ensure that that was enshrined in what we were doing. And the other part, the bit about our future So I'm not saying not going to read it, but wanted to be really clear the kind of context at the moment. We know you only have to open a newspaper, look at social media, listen to the radio or the TV or whatever, and we know that there's an awful lot talked about how that our communities are more divided and that there's a disconnect, whether that's around your view on immigration, Brexit, COVID. There's all manner of things which we receive a great deal of information that we are divided about. But what's rarely talked about, and certainly I think this is the key part for all of us, otherwise we wouldn't be involved in Neighbourhood Watch, around how we are, the things that connect us, the things that are the same between us, where we live, wanting to feel safe, wanting to be able to use our communities and feel safe and comfortable and connected in our communities. That's something we all share. It doesn't matter what your politics or anything else is. That's a completely shared feeling that we all have in our communities, and we wanted to reflect that. So moving on to the specifics of our strategy for the next 5 years. So one of the things we want to do is bring neighbours together, and that's a kind of key overarching aim, is around bringing neighbours together. And the specifics within that, if we can get to the next slide, Cheryl. The specifics of what we want to do to ensure that we are bring neighbours together. We want to introduce more flexible volunteering. We know that volunteering across the UK has altered, that lots of people don't want to commit to being in a volunteer group or a committee over a long period of time, but they do want to do something specific, whether that's a litter pick or a knife sweep, or the various different things that we want to be able to enable people to do that. So that's something that we'll be doing. We've also relaunched the community space, and that's part of this week. As you'll be aware, it's Neighbourhood Watch Week this week. The team here has just come upstairs from running a community event in our offices, where we were talking to lots of the other people who occupy the same space. And also the next one is around developing a buddy scheme for local coordinators. So if you're a new coordinator, you'll be linked with somebody, and we want to increase that over the next few years. So if any new coordinator gets linked with an established coordinator, help them establish their neighbourhood watch. And the last thing I was just going to mention, we're going to expand the community safety charter, which is neighbourhood safety training. And that'll be another key part of what we do in terms of bringing neighbours together. And that's not just residential neighbours, but neighbours within local shops, local organisations, but those groups being brought into this kind of Neighbourhood Watch family as part of that community. So that's the first goal, goal one. And the second goal that we know, which is really, really important, which will be around showing our impact. We know that where local neighbourhood watch groups have gained funding from PCCs or other funding bodies, it's been when they've been able to show their impact. And that doesn't necessarily mean proving that a particular neighbourhood watch intervention has reduced crime by a certain amount. We can do that, and we have done that. But it's just around being really clear about the stories within Neighbourhood Watch, the benefits of being part of Neighbourhood Watch, and telling those stories, whether they're really, really small, that a local group that was having, I mean, we hear this really regularly, a local group that was having a problem with a park or a certain area, that the volunteers got involved in kind of clearing it up, making it more attractive, and then the crime left that area or left that park. So even from very local stories, that we're really keen to make sure that we're telling that and showing the benefits of being part of Neighbourhood Watch. And one of the other core parts we want to do is also to expand our community grants programme. So that's where local groups are able to apply for funding centrally from ourselves. It's just a small funding programme. But we want to increase that to about £15,000 per year over the next couple of years. And I think that will help provide kind of seed funding for local groups or specific activities and specific programs. But certainly we want to do that from a central perspective to help local groups. And the third element that we want to do, I think, as I mentioned, as part of the, excuse me, as part of our values about being trusted and innovative, our third goal. And what we want to do there, we want to increase the how we use and the accessibility of the Knowledge Hub. So the Knowledge Hub, for those of you that aren't aware, is the coordinators the coordinators place that they can go online to get all sorts of advice, information, contact with other coordinators to do the best job that they can, or to get good ideas about how to expand their group, make it more active, how to ensure that it's got coverage if something happens to one of the leaders within it. We want to make that as good as it can possibly be, and also we want to encourage all coordinators to access and use the Knowledge Hub, because it is such a fantastic place to gain information, advice, innovation, a bit of inspiration is where what that's great for. And also to expand our programs around modern online enabled crimes. We know that acquisitive crime has been reducing, things like burglary over the last sort of 20 years. It's been gradually going down, but the amount of online or cyber-enabled crime has gone up absolutely massively over the last sort of 10 years. So we want to make sure that we're as relevant in that as we always have been in other forms of crimes. And also we want to make sure that we're delivering the bystander approach training as broadly as possible. This is how we know that what the crime and not that it's always crime, but antisocial behaviour affects more people in our network than any other type of crime, and people are more worried about that and harassment. But what you can do in a safe way to provide support or intervene in terms of harassment or ASB, that's when we want to increase that as well. So the last slide I'm just going to go through is kind of, I mentioned it earlier, around what makes us distinctive as an organisation, what makes you distinctive. And I think we've always found it tricky to because the range of work that Neighbourhood Watch does across England and Wales is so broad and so vast. Talking about what we do has not always been difficult, has always been slightly tricky, but we've decided to sort of group what Neighbourhood Watch does into 3 different areas. So there's the Neighbourhood Watch element. So this is the bit where we provide information, resources about to reduce the impact of crime, our liaison with the police, and a lot of this is on the alert system, but the Neighbourhood Watch element. But then also the Neighbourhood Connect element. So initiatives where people are connected within their community, whether that's a Lissipic, as in this picture, or whether that's around a social event, or whether it's around a specific group of people that are getting together to improve a park or something else, but the kind of specific Neighbourhood Connect bit. And very much part of that is around reducing isolation and loneliness within communities, which we know is becoming an increasing issue. I mean, you only have to think about people working from home, more and more more and more leisure activities are online, but and there's also an increasing sense of loneliness and isolation in all our communities, but kind of making sure that we're reducing that. And the third one is the Neighbourhood Act element. I've already mentioned the importance of Neighbourhood Watch being an active organisation, and that locally this is really important. But actually taking practical acts within a community, whether that's linking, whether that's a litter pick, whatever that might be, but being proactive in your community. And the reason we've drawn those 3 kind of buckets out of our, if you kind of think of our different activities, is just to make it really clear to people who don't know Neighbourhood Watch or think it's just around reporting a crime to the police or being aware of crime prevention, that Neighbourhood Watch is much more than that. It's the Neighbourhood Watch, it's Neighbourhood Connect, and it's Neighbourhood Act. Those are the kind of different areas we do. And obviously some activities might be all 3, but those are the things we just wanted to be really clear, the importance of those 3 different things. And I think that ties in very much where we know, as I think I mentioned earlier, where younger people and young families are more involved in Neighbourhood Watch. It's when Neighbourhood Watch is all those things, locally based, the watch part, the connect part, and the act part. And that's when it becomes really attractive to a much broader range of people. So that's the aim for the strategy over the next 6 years. I'm just going to hand over to Sandra now, who's just going to talk about the kind of context with the police around our new strategy. So thank you.
Thank you very much, John. Hi, I'm Sandra Bauer, Head of Policy, Partnerships and Projects at Neighbourhood Watch National. I'm just going to run through the current and planned changes in England and Wales that we'll be seeing, and which will influence the work that we're all doing within Neighbourhood Watch and also for delivering the strategy that John's just explained. Please do add any questions into the chat and we'll pick those up at the end, because I know some of you have done that already. Okay. I have the first. Thank you. So the main UK government changes to local policing are a shift back towards neighbourhood policing more, local officers, and a planned restructuring of police governance and force boundaries. The clearest published proposals say the government wants 13,000 more neighbourhood officers, named contactable officers in every community, new local police areas inside forces, a more consistent local service backed by local policing guarantees. The end of PCCs too. So that will not mean too much of a change for us, except we'll need to make new relationships with the people who take over, which in the main will be mayors or oversight bodies. The changes to police forces will mean changes for Neighbourhood Watch and associations, but we don't know what the new structures will be or what the emphasis on neighbourhood policing will look like at the moment for forces. When we do, we plan to work with associations and coordinators like yourselves to plan for that and how that will look in the future. So the neighbourhood policing guarantee. So this is a commitment made by police forces to provide a dedicated and visible police presence in local communities. This initiative aims to enhance trust and safety by ensuring that policing is responsive to the specific needs of neighbourhoods. So here are the key aspects of the guarantees. Local officers, as I've said before, dedicated police officers, community support officers who are familiar with the area and its residents. So that should help build relationships and understanding issues locally. Community engagement, the guarantee emphasises the importance of engaging with local communities through regular meetings, consultations and feedback mechanisms. This should ensure that residents have a voice in policing matters. Problem-solving approach. Now, this will be music to your ears. Police will be expected to take a proactive approach to identify and address local issues, such as crime hotspots or antisocial behaviour, in collaboration with community members and local services. So, in effect, local authorities who have more control. Visibility and accessibility, there'll be a commitment to maintaining a visible police presence in neighbourhoods, ensuring that officers are accessible to the public and reporting issues and seeking assistance. And performance monitoring, the effectiveness of neighbourhood policing will be monitored through local performance metrics, allowing for adjustments and improvements based on community feedback and policing outcomes. So obviously the stats that you might see in say for neighbourhood meetings, you could then influence those. Overall, the neighbourhood policing guarantee is aimed at fostering safer communities through tailored local policing strategies that prioritise community involvement and responsiveness. So this is the final slide you'll be delighted to know. So the kind of opportunities we think this presents for Neighbourhood Watch, with the increased powers like respect orders, seizure powers for vehicles, removing immunity for low value theft, and a specific offence for assaulting shop workers. And also, very interestingly, a power to search without warrant where an electronic tracking indicates the presence of stolen items. So this is an example where maybe you have an Apple Watch or an Apple device and it's showing that it's inside a house. The police would not require a warrant to go into that property. So it's really looking at tackling low-level crime, because in the past this has led to a huge increase in the seemingly victimless crime like shoplifting, which has really kind of driven organised crime behind the scenes. So really, those four things we think are the biggest wins for us. Closer relationships, better data, reorganisation of local associations to match policing areas. But this is all up for discussion because it's kind of into the future. And I think I'll leave it there, but I can see there's plenty of questions coming through.
So what I'm going to be talking about is watch, connect and act, and what that looks like for you in practice as Neighbourhood Watch coordinators. So I'm going to provide some examples of some lovely colourful slides ahead. So just reiterating what John said earlier about what people often ask, what does Neighbourhood Watch actually do? And while many people recognise our name, they may not fully understand the breadth of what we do. And so just putting into context around what Connect and Act do. This is just a simplified page for from what you were shown before. So I'd like to highlight a scheme that you've probably seen quite a lot in our newsletter. It's Rosegrove. And Rosegrove is a small railway town in Lancashire. And it's a fantastic example of the power of community and connection in action. At the heart of the community is the Railway Club, which hosts an impressive range of activities and events that bring people together across all ages and backgrounds, from school science workshops and community-led crime prevention initiatives to drag nights, knit and natter sessions and campaigns raising awareness of issues such as knife crime. There is something for everyone. This vibrant and dedicated group works tirelessly to engage both young and older residents, creating opportunities to learn, socialise and support one another and to make a positive difference. For their diverse programme of events and campaigns demonstrates how a strong community spirit can help build a safer, more inclusive and connected place for everyone. So a fourth area, I'm going to highlight Cumbria. Cumbria is a Neighbourhood Watch area. And the association operates across one of the most rural counties in our country, where geography and isolation can present unique challenges. Communities face issues ranging from flooding and rural crime to increased vulnerability and domestic abuse, often exacerbated by the remote nature of many areas. Despite these challenges, the association has developed innovative and practical ways to support local residents, working closely with young farmer groups. They have helped raise awareness of rural crime and providing advice on target hardening farms and neighbouring properties against theft and other criminal activity. These are all really good examples of ACT in terms of acting on the issues, looking at those, looking at problem solving and providing solutions. And so Greenwich Neighbourhood Watch is based in London, faces a very different set of challenges with a highly transient population that includes many renters and students. Building lasting relationships and fostering a sense of community can be difficult. For many residents, trust, connection and feeling of belonging can seem out of reach. To address this, Greenwich Neighbourhood Watch secured funding to deliver an 8-week programme designed to bring people together, strengthen community ties and improve feelings of safety and well-being. This programme offered a diverse range of activities, including Irish dancing, art workshops and self-defence classes for women. Alongside these social and wellbeing activities, residents were provided practical crime prevention advice throughout these sessions. So this is a great example of Watch, Connect and Act all in action, with reduction showing that impact of 30% reduction in burglary, for instance, or 27% reduction in parcel theft. That's those figures that are on there. So John spoke earlier about, have you heard about the Knowledge Hub? And so I just wanted to provide a couple of slides to explain what the Knowledge Hub is. So the Knowledge Hub is a bespoke online platform designed for volunteers like yourselves, and depending on your role within Neighbourhood Watch, you will see specific information relevant to your role. All volunteers from coordinators to association leads, we have you covered. It provides practical support for volunteers from toolkits, resources to peer-to-peer support on our forum. We also provide a space where volunteers can share their experiences to help inspire others. And I know that some of you on the call have already done that. So thank you for that. To inspire others to do the same, in the same roles as them. Since 2025, we have invested in an in-house learning management system in the Knowledge Hub. And this is to enable us to provide online practical support and training courses. And this is currently in development. This is due to our online neighbourhood safety training, which also runs alongside this on our platform. We have a focus group currently made up of association leads, coordinators like yourselves, membership support administrators, Neighbourhood Watch ambassadors, to name but a few, that review the offer to volunteers using this. And currently, to date, we have over 4,000 coordinators on the system, and we want many, many more. So as you can see, this is some of the toolkits around succession planning, etc. And this is some of the items that you can see on the hub. Now, Sandra has put together a lovely little video, which I'm just about to share. You will get a copy of the slides at the end. And let me just press play.
Hello, this is a video which will hopefully help you access the Knowledge Hub on Neighbourhood Watch website. So if you navigate to ourwatch.org.uk, you'll see some titles of menus at the top here. We're going to go for member area. So directly under member area, and this will operate in a similar way if you are using your phone or a tablet, you'll see our Knowledge Hub. Just take a click on that. Navigates you through to a page which tells you about the Knowledge Hub, describes who can have access to the Knowledge Hub. So that's people with roles within Neighbourhood Watch, coordinators, area coordinators, associations, MSAs and Neighbourhood Watch ambassadors. Little further down, here's the registration link. We'll click right up through on that and you'll find a form. Really quick and easy again. Email address, confirmation, first name, surname, area you live in, your role, which will be one of the ones that was on the previous page, and just a confirmation that you have read and understood the Code of Ethics and Standards, the Data Protection Policy, and the Volunteer Agreement. So you'd click those, click that you're happy for your details to be shared in order to process your application. Lovely. And then press submit. And that's just about it. It's quick and easy, and you'll shortly hopefully get a confirmation that you are now a member. Hope this has been helpful.
So thank you, Sandra, for that lovely video.
You're very welcome. So if we go to questions now. This is a video. Oh, not yet. Yes, it is question time. The first question is from Steve, and they ask, what is the alert system? Cheryl, could you quickly describe what the alert system is, please?
Absolutely. So our alert system is where you register your membership, where you register your scheme. So that's how we messaged you using what we know as the alert system. You may see it as Met Engage, In the Know, or access it through our website, for instance, on ourwatch.org.uk, but it's where your scheme is registered. That's your membership area where your membership is registered, where you say that you're a Neighbourhood Watch member and volunteer.
Very good. Question 2 is from Finn. Do coordinators need permission from the local council before displaying Neighbourhood Watch signs or stickers on lampposts? Cheryl.
So, yes, it depends where you live. So it is really, really important that you understand in some areas that you don't need permission, in other areas do. It is always best practice to check. If you're not sure, do check with your local association. So I've got, I can hear myself. Contact your local association. If you haven't got an association, then contact us, but contact the council and the Highways Department, which should be able to help you.
Lovely, Cheryl, great. I'm afraid yours is the next one as well. So question 3 from Finn. If Is there a self-registration link or QR code that residents can use to join my scheme directly rather than providing their details to me?
Not at this time, but we can provide a link. You can also you can put in their email address if you have their email address, and it will send them a direct email to ask them to join up, and they can then put their own details in there. So there's various different ways that you can get a member to join your scheme. You can get them to register themselves. So if you ask them to go to ourwatch.org.uk, they can then fill in their registration, and the first thing that will come up is if your scheme is registered and approved, you will actually see, they will see, congratulations, you live within a existing scheme area, click here to join. And so they can then join your scheme.
That's great, Cheryl. I'm going to combine the next two questions. So Nina asks, sharing information with neighbours regarding posting photos on group, how does this affect our group? Are we allowed to post or not? And I think that's about permissions. And then can I combine that with a question from Yasmin? And she says, can we have training? How can we organise ourselves with GDPR? So I think that's a question about reproducing photos with permissions and GDPR generally.
Sorry,
If I take some of those sort of bits, because I think there's another one about publications. But in terms of first of all, training and GDPR, there is information on the hub around GDPR, and we've also got some information on our website around GDPR. And we're happy, if there are specific questions, happy to do that. But we have got a fairly complete advice in terms of GDPR. And if there's anything specific, we'd be really happy to answer that centrally. In terms of publications, was another question of whether Neighbourhood Watch Network stuff can be put onto WhatsApp groups locally. Then we would say yes. Our material isn't secret, and certainly the crime prevention and information we'd happily for that to be shared within local groups. Obviously, you need to make sure if you're sharing on a WhatsApp group that the recipients of that are happy to receive that. That's obviously a key part of it. In terms of information around that's on the hub, in terms of training, I mean, we would like that to be primarily for coordinators, but it's not secret. So that is quite happy to be shared. The question around sharing images is a bit more complicated. Again, if it's Neighbourhood Watch Network information or local information about events or crime prevention or those sort of things, then that's absolutely fine to be shared. But there's always a note of caution about sharing any pictures or video of someone who may be an alleged offender, in that can make a police investigation more complicated, and the police would advise you not to do that unless it's something that they have themselves, unless they've posted a picture on social media or their own messaging themselves about an alleged offender. If they've done that, then it's fine to share it on WhatsApp or other groups. But if they haven't, I would avoid doing that, because I say it can make a police investigation more complicated and more difficult to get a conviction. So I think those are those questions, Sandra.
Super, thanks, John. That's great. And then we've got a couple of really nice quick ones. Question 6 from Joan. Do the changes in policing refer also to Wales? I understand that is the case, or there may be some extra local changes in Wales that the Welsh Government make. Question 7 from Tony. Does the power to search without warrant also apply to bikes with tracking devices? It's a huge issue in his area. I understand the details to come out, but as long as they recognise the tracking service as one that's approved by the police, then I'm sure that would be the case. Question 8 from Finn. Can a neighbourhood watch scheme cover multiple nearby streets, and is there a recommended maximum size? Cheryl, can I ask you to come back on that one?
Yes, of course. So with regards to schemes, obviously we do recommend you start with one street. There are other areas that you can start to grow, and if you want to grow your scheme, best advice is talk to your membership support administrator in your area, or talk to your local association, or talk to your area coordinator. They will be the ones that can then discuss with you whether or not building and spreading out your scene is the right choice for you. Because obviously, when you get more and more streets, they're bigger and bigger and bigger, it can become more difficult to manage. So it's just about working together and how that can be done together. So do contact your local association, do talk to your membership support administrators.
Thanks, Cheryl. That was great. Question 9 from David. In respect of doorbell cameras and similar, is there a legal requirement to prevent cameras being pointed at the street as opposed to recording events in a doorway? Do either of you have any?
Yeah, I guess what I would say about this is that there is some clear guidance, particularly the ICO has got clear guidance in terms of what can and can't be filmed and recorded on audio. There's still, I would say that this is still being tried. Some of this is still being tried and tested in the courts. So it's not quite clear, and there are people have strong views around this. I mean, we've got quite a lot of advice on our website about what can and can't be videoed. I mean, broadly, if there is a good reason that to record something on your own property, but there's edges that go onto someone else's property, then that is broadly seen as acceptable. If a camera is pointed directly at someone else's property or road, then that is more complicated, and certainly you need to inform those that may be recorded that they are being recorded and how they can have the film of them expunged from that recording, because that's a legal requirement. Some of this is still being debated in some places. This is our advice because it echoes what the ICO would say. But I would also just draw people's attention to the recordings, not just the sort of voice recordings as well. There was a case that went through court recently where this was part of a neighbour dispute, but there was a CCTV camera which was filming the door to somebody's shed in their garden, so completely in their property. However, the audio recording on it was able to record all the conversations of the neighbours next door. That eventually, I mean, as I say, this was a significant neighbourhood dispute, but when the case went to court, the neighbours successfully sued the owners of the CCTV and that they didn't have a right to be recording their conversations in their next door's garden. So it is quite a complex area. If in doubt, seek some advice around it. But the ICO have got advice. We echo that advice on our own website. But yeah, if in doubt, take advice.
Thank you, John. That's really good. Question 10 from Justin. I'm going to bring Cheryl in on. He asks, is there a way to create a watch scheme specifically for businesses? I could create a scheme on our watch covering the area, but residents could join it as well, when I'd like to keep it exclusive for local businesses. Cheryl, you might want to bring in the Community Safety Charter into this one.
Hi, so with regards to a scheme, people can join a scheme. So if you're a resident of the local area, if you're a local business, I think it's really important that you've got local residents looking out for you too. If you're looking at providing a business watch, that's a different element of the watch programs. So business watch, there are if you're in town centres, etc., there are business watches that are about. But I would like, if I was a business owner, to have people that live above my property or in that area looking out for my property too. So at this moment in time, there is not a facility for you just to have a business watch on the system. But you can join and create a scheme that you can then message all of receive all of the information, and you can then pass it on to your local residents too.
Super, Cheryl. I've got a really good one here. I've dropped 150 leaflets this is from Josie, by the way. I've dropped 150 leaflets to houses around the area I'm covering, but I've only had 4 people sign up. How can I get more people involved? Cheryl, I'm sure you've got some initiatives there.
A lot of people, when you see a leaflet, sometimes people don't read those leaflets, they just go through the door. I've always found, because I'm also a Neighbourhood Watch coordinator myself, I've always found knocking on somebody's door, talking to people really, really helps builds that membership, because it's easy to do, and you can actually use your mobile phone to add a new member to your scheme as well while you're there talking to them. They will then receive an email to say, oh, somebody's joined your you've joined a scheme. Can you fill in the details? Is it correct? And then all they've got to do is click on the link, and then they've officially joined your scheme. So there's many different ways to get people to do it at the door while you're talking to them, because I think that how we do it depends on where we live as well. Because obviously we won't be going knocking on somebody that's a little bit further out if it's a big rural area. So there's different ways that we can do it, and by talking to people, don't give up. That's the key, is don't give up, because people will see the activities that you do. If you start doing more activities as part of the scheme, people will see that and want to be part of that, because it's about bringing them together. They want to be part of that. So yeah, good luck. And there's lots of ideas on activities on our Knowledge Hub too.
I can just come in briefly on that, just kind of to echo what Cheryl said. When we did some research a few years ago on this, the main reason people had for not joining Neighbourhood Watch is that they'd never been asked. And when we dug down into that, it was about being physically asked by somebody. It wasn't just about kind of being aware of it, but it was about literally someone speaking to them and asking them to join. And I think a third of people who weren't part of Neighbourhood Watch said they would join if someone asked them. So I think that is the kind of key. Obviously, I think if you're if you're in an area where you're new to an area, or you certainly don't want to knock on people's doors on your own, then I would get either a neighbour or a friend to go with you. But I think, as Cheryl says, I think that is the key to getting people to join. And if you've already done the groundwork that they've already got a flyer or a leaflet, then half the work's already been done. I would say I would give that a go, because I almost guarantee. Obviously, you can come back to me and say I was wrong, but like Cheryl, I'd almost guarantee that you will get lots more members joining if you knock on their door, potentially with somebody else, and have a chat with them.
Thanks both. We've got another 10 questions, so I'm going to ask you to be a little bit more brief, although you have been absolutely brilliant with the answers. I'm loving this one from Mark. I've recently taken over the coordinator role for 2 adjacent areas, and none of the members are registered on the system. Instead, members get resources circulated by the coordinator as and when they're received. I'm holding a community event tomorrow for the 2 groups together. Should all members register, or can I continue as previously? Any advice, please?
Well, you can get your members to register. It's the best way looking after their data. You don't have to be very responsible for having their details stored elsewhere. But it depends on how comfortable they are. We recommend that using the facilities that we have, so using the membership system to register. But there are many different ways to do that. Traditionally, coordinators have kept members' details, but this is also proved difficult if somebody wants to leave. So, say, for instance, if the coordinator retires or passes away, then that's been very difficult to actually pass on that information. And we've seen that many schemes die as part of that, because somebody has, have stopped working because there isn't that coordinator there anymore. Whereas if the members are registered, then the membership support administrators, the associations within those local areas can say, oh, we've noticed that you've not got a Neighbourhood Watch coordinator at the moment. Is there anybody else that is that coordinator? Has anybody stepped up? And just so that they will then get that help and support as well. So it's about continuity, and if we can get our members on there, then the continuity of the schemes that we're running, we've started, will continue. And we really, really want to help with that.
Thanks, Cheryl. That was great. I've got a couple of really quick ones now. So Brian asks, is the Knowledge Hub only for coordinators? The answer is sort of. So it's coordinators, MSAs, local associations and Neighbourhood Watch ambassadors. The reason for that is that the information is really for them to do their jobs. Question 15 from Tony. How do I get to be a Neighbourhood Watch coordinator? You're talking to the right person. We'll bite your hand off. We need more and more coordinators. There's a section on the website where you can send your details to us if you want to become a Neighbourhood Watch ambassador, or you can send an email to inquiries@ourwatch.org.uk, and then we'll get you into training, which is very quick and easy, and get you on your way. Question 16 from Yasmin. Is there a support group for us to meet other coordinators? I think the short answer is yes, but I'm going to ask Cheryl to pick that.
Yes, on the hub.
Yes, there on the forums there. But it is dependent on the local areas, sometimes associations or area coordinators or district coordinators will bring together the membership to bring together the coordinators so they can work together. Because sometimes, sometimes coordinators may feel that they work in silos, but they don't. There's a lot more help and support out there than they probably thought that there was.
Super. Thank you, Cheryl. Question 17 from Stephen. Why is there not an edit facility for me to change my members' details once they've been accepted onto my scheme? Cheryl, can I ask you to answer? So I'll read it again.
I'll jump in, Sandra, on that one. I think it's because the data of members on your scheme belongs to them, and so the only people that can therefore alter the other members' details are themselves. It's purely a GDPR issue. Obviously, you're more than welcome to alter your own data. Anyone can alter their own data by going onto the system themselves, but we're unable to alter other people's data.
Thanks, John. That's great. Question 18 from Sue. I have to buy signage for my streets. Is there a way of me not having to do this? Cheryl, I think local.
Yes. So in some associations, they either provide discounted or free signage. That isn't the case for all associations. So it is dependent on whether or not they've been able to achieve funding for that. They do have to apply for funding. It isn't just a given. So sometimes that is more difficult. The funding landscape is a very different one. In some areas, they will provide everything for free. In other areas, it is discounted. But we do supply them on our online shop as well. For those, especially for those areas that aren't able to get access to signage and stickers.
Can I just jump in as well? If it's a real issue for a local area, then there's certainly that local scheme or group can apply for a community grant as well to us each time.
Thank you both. From Deborah, am I allowed to share this presentation with our parish councillors, as I would like to promote the establishing of schemes in our parish? John, are you comfortable with that?
Doing the visual thumbs up, yes. Yeah, that's perfect. The more it's shared, the better.
Great, that's nice and quick. Question 20 from Tim. How do I find a local body to help set up my scheme? Cheryl?
So currently, you can talk to your membership support administrator, because they are the people that know the coordinators much more. They're the people that approve the schemes in the local areas. So if you know your MSA, that we call them, or your local association, they'll be able to team you up with a local coordinator. Buddy scheme at the moment is very, very in its baby stage, and we are working with a focus group to look at what that looks like, because in different areas may look differently. If any of you are interested in being part of that discussion, do let me know. You've all got my email.
Great, thanks a lot, Cheryl. Question 21 from Brian. Is there any way to find out if a neighbouring street is already in a scheme? I think that can be done via the mapping on the web. Do you want to just come in and confirm that, Cheryl?
Yes, absolutely. So on our website, if you go to find my local NW, which is along the top, and just type in your postcode, any of the schemes that have been approved will show on there.
Lovely and quick. Thank you very much, Cheryl. You're getting really, really good at this. Question 22 from Henry. How do I add someone to my scheme if I've been appointed as a coordinator for an established area?
So it's really easy. If you go into your membership area and click on your scheme, you can click on to add a member. So it's add a member to my scheme and fill in all of their details, and they will receive an email to say that they've been added to a scheme and can they confirm their details. And if somebody else adds, if somebody also joins the system and finds that, they live within a scheme area, you will receive an email to say that they've added themselves to your scheme. And equally so, if they're added to your scheme, if the membership support administrator adds someone to your scheme, both of you will receive an email to say that they've been added and you've got a new member.
Great, Cheryl. We've just got one last question we've got time for. Is there a way to easily contact the coordinators of neighbouring schemes?
So yes, you can go on again. If you go onto onto our website, go to find my local NW, type in your postcode. It will show you your neighbouring schemes, up 5 neighbouring schemes, and there is a when you click on those particular schemes, you can click on message the coordinator. If you haven't yet got an area coordinator, you wouldn't know who those coordinators are. So just do that. They will receive an email to say that somebody is trying to contact them, and you can also leave a message on there. So they will receive an email.
Well, thank you. Thanks everyone for your time. I think we've just about managed to keep within time. We will go through the chat and check for further questions and answer those as best we can. But I guess before I pass to Ian, I just wanted to give everybody a big thanks for all your kind of engagement in this. I mean, we're really keen that the strategy that we continue to work with you and provide you with the kind of training, support, and all those kind of things that we need, but also really want to engage with you and make sure that the support we're providing is right, but also to kind of enthuse you around the strategy and where we as a whole movement are trying to get to. But I'll just pass over to Ian for some closing. It was closing thoughts. I meant closing, but there we are. Sorry.
Yes, closing thoughts. Yes, I think I'll just echo what John said. It's been really interesting hearing the questions that you're raising. It's quite a challenge for those of us on the board of the national charity to be connected. We have got 1 or 2 people that do work at the grassroots level as well, and can relay what you're doing. But I think I've learned a lot about some of the challenges you're facing. And as I said at the beginning, this strategy is about how we build and strengthen what our current operations and activities and build things on top of that. So I can sense that there's still a lot of work to do to make the activities that you're doing as a coordinator smoother. I think the alert system has developed enormously over the past few years, and it will still be developed to make the best use of that technology so that it's easier and simpler to use. So I hope you will see those improvements coming through, and I hope that you will look for other ways of spreading out what Neighbourhood Watch does. I think all the research we've done and some of the research we tapped into as part of the strategy shows there's a real appetite for people to be better connected with their neighbours. People don't like the way that our neighbourhoods have become much more sort of atomised and separated, I think we can help that. We won't solve it completely. It's not just down to us, but we can be part of that solution. So I hope you will, if you're already doing that. Also, it's really important to share that with the central support team so that we can spread that around the movement. That's one of the strengths of this movement, that we can spread out that best practice, and innovation in one area becomes something that becomes eventually business as usual everywhere. So I hope it's given you food for thought. And I hope just again thank you for your time in coming to the meeting and for all your hard work and commitment.
Cheryl, it's Clive.
Hi, Clive. How are you doing?
Not bad yourself. Just a quick one before you go. You know the issues we've been having on the system with the survey, etc. Is it Joe's been working on it from a technical point of view, and just let you know it's up and running now.
Perfect.
So that's fine. But the question I have is when you go to the Neighbourhood Watch site and go around me, that option at the top left, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when you go down there and look at it, and you get the cloud about all the issues around you in your area.
Yes.
My question is that updated just purely, so if you get residents that fill out the survey by just pressing that button at the bottom, is that data updated just from that survey or from Humberside Police's talking to, is it both systems?
Yeah.
It is.
All part of the same system. Yeah.
Oh, that's fine. That's brilliant, that. Okay, cocky.
All right.
Right. Cheers, Cheryl.
Thank you, everybody. Take care.
Bye.